Hello, beautiful people. Welcome back to Spill the Tea, Lou. I'm not very organised this morning because I was not, in fact, expecting to be going live, but here we are, live. What I was going to do was actually a pre-record, and then I thought, nobody has anything to be at on a Sunday morning because I know myself. I woke up, I pottered about, I had a coffee, and I thought, okay, what'll I do now between now and 2 o'clock? And I thought, right, okay, I'll have a wee look. I'll do a bit of a video. We'll look at the games from yesterday. And then I want to get looking at the game today. But then I thought to myself, sure, if I'm at nothing, maybe everyone else is at nothing, and we can all just go live together. So let me know if you can see me. Let me know if you can hear me, because not only have I had to do all the setup by myself, but also it was last minute. So this could be absolute mayhem, people. Who knows what might be happening? Just give me 1 wee second. What I want to do, I don't know if I can share this to Twitter. Hello, hello, hello. Guess is about to make some tea. Rob's in the house. Rob is first in the house. Guess is the right idea. Tea all round. Put a pot on for all of us. Bear with me just 1 minute, because as I said, I literally did this at the literal exact last moment. So I am not at all organised. You should be able to see yesterday's results there on the screen. Please let me know. Can you see those? Are they big enough? There's Twisted Baba. Ho, ho, ho. He is feeling very Christmassy. No Grinches over here. Yes, please. Can you log in, X? Thank you very much. Oh, I have no idea what my password is, pal. So if we can just try this. Yeah. Oh, it's pre-filled, people. The password is pre-filled. So let's hope that's working. But yeah, so what I'm planning to do, I'm going to take a quick look at the results from yesterday, and I am then going to post. Lads, I'm unreal. I'm posting stuff on my X that wasn't logged in while I'm live on YouTube. I am actually just genuinely a tech goddess now. That's it. I have evolved to tech goddess. Right, X out of that. Okay, now I can concentrate on you, lovely people. Please do smash a like, by the way, while you're coming in. Forgot to say that because, again, wasn't planning to go live. Forgot all the things you're supposed to say to people. If you're new, please do subscribe. Yes, Guess should be doing her homework, but she's not. She's here with us talking about the football. So, as I said, I'm going to go through the results from yesterday. I'm going to have a quick look at the games that are going to be on today. And I am going to focus a little bit off the games today I'm going to look at the derby that is coming up. Where is it gone? I do so much writing. I'm going to look at the Newcastle and Sunderland derby. I will, of course, be mentioning Manchester City and Crystal Palace. We do have our Twisted Baba in the house. So, of course, we're not going to neglect him. Bless him. He's turned up, so we're going to talk about his team. So, first things first, I did not watch Chelsea-Everton. So let me explain this to you. For anyone who doesn't know, I run my own business, okay? So I run my own clothes shop. In the shop on a Saturday, it can be quite busy. So what I do is I bring my wee computer and I watch the football on my computer between customers. So I can only watch one game at a time. My intention, because I've been talking about them so much this week, was to watch Chelsea-Everton, because I thought, well, if I keep talking about them, it's only fair if I go and watch the poor buggers. So I was all set, ready to go watch Chelsea-Everton. And what I normally do when I'm in the shop is I'll put on one match, and then if Don Hassam is doing a watch-along, which he normally is, I'll put on his watch-along and he'll do the other match. So I listen to him say talking about Liverpool while I'm watching Chelsea, so I get to kind of know what is happening in the different matches. And next thing, all I hear is this man shouting, "Goal! Goal!" And I'm like, lad, we're 46 seconds into the match. What are you talking about? I thought he was trolling us. He was not trolling us. Hugo Ekitike scored 46 seconds into the match, the fastest goal of the Premier League this season so far. And I thought, well, that decides that. I guess I'm going to be watching Liverpool and Brighton. So that's what I did. So I can't say too much about the Chelsea-Everton game, except for obviously the score. They've got Cole Palmer back. So Cole Palmer played their last Premier League match. The difference was unbelievable. He didn't play when they were in Europe, and then they didn't get the result they wanted. But obviously they're easing him back in after an injury. And then they played him again against Everton, and look at the difference. So it just goes to show you what we keep saying. It's not necessarily about how many injuries you're getting. It's about who was getting injured. So Cole Palmer really could make the difference to Chelsea's season, and he's coming back at such an important time in the season, and he's been eased back in properly by his manager. He's not just been flung back in. We're absolutely desperate. You know, the critics are out for us. Everybody's slagging us off. Everybody's saying we're falling off. The temptation for the manager would be throw Cole Palmer back in. He is the difference maker. I need someone to dig me out, get him on the pitch. And that's exactly what would have happened to him at Manchester United, because we reek of desperation. But no, the manager stood firm and he said, I am absolutely not going to throw this guy under the bus. I am going to ease him back in because I know that's what's best for him and that's what's best for my team in the long term. And it's working because they got the result. I did think Everton would put up a bit more of a fight because Everton seemed to be kind of, you know, thereabouts, doing all right so far this season, and disappointed. I mean, I thought Chelsea would win, but I didn't think it would be that easy. I did think it would be more than nil. I think I put 2-1. Hello, Ash. Nice to see you, pal. Then, as I said, I did actually watch the Liverpool and Brighton game, which I hadn't intended to do, but here we are. I did. So, I've loads of notes. Now, I'm not going to bore you because obviously most of you will have actually watched the match. You basically know what happened. So I just want to go through the bits that I actually really took from it and kind of pick out the talking points that I want to focus on. So obviously, I've already mentioned the first one, Hugo Ekitike, 46 seconds, the fastest goal of the season so far. And honestly, he was absolutely unbelievable for the whole match. And you have to ask yourself, and if I was a Liverpool fan, I would be asking my manager, why is this man not starting every single game? Hugo Ekitike should be starting all the games. I don't care how much you paid for Alexander Isak. I don't care about the drama you had to get him out of Newcastle. I only care about winning on the pitch. And Hugo Ekitike gives us a much better chance of doing that than Alexander Isak. Therefore, Isak sits on the bench, Ekitike starts. That's what I'm thinking. But I'm not a manager, and I'm not even a Liverpool fan, so not up to me, but that would be my thinking. What do you guys reckon? I mean, do you think Ekitike should be starting all the matches, or do you think, no, the manager's right to try and play Isak into form, give him more minutes, get him going, and that's what you would want to see? But let me know what you actually think. Rob, always United, obviously United fan, is saying, wish we'd bought Ekitike. So do bloody I. And I would say so do half the teams in the Premier League at the minute. And like, I know he wasn't cheap, but he was cheap compared to the other sign in the mid. So yeah, let's see. Ash, what does Ash have to say? He has to try and play Isak for how much he cost, but no reason he can't play both. Has he not tried that? I thought he did try playing both of them. Now, obviously not loads of times, but I mean, I thought he had tried playing both of them and it just didn't work. Now, maybe that was just me. Maybe I imagined that. Maybe I'm just being judgy. But I'll be honest with you, Ash. I understand the pressure that managers be under to play a signing when he was very, very expensive. Because how can you waste all that money, spend that money, and then the player doesn't work or you're not using him? How can you leave that amount of money sitting on the bench? And, you know, that was the argument a lot of people had about Sala. He's on 400k, if I believe everything I read on social media, which, you know, he's on 400k a week, which is an enormous amount of money. He can't leave him sitting on the bench. But you know what it is? The manager's job is to win games. The manager's job is not to manage the finances. He is not a financial person. He is a football person. His job is to coach the team and play wins on the pitch. So he shouldn't be thinking about, this man costs this much money. What he should be thinking about every single week before every single match is, what is the best possible team I can put out there to win this match for me? And at this moment in time, Alexander Isak is not a part of that, regardless of how much he costs. So I would let the finance people worry about the finance, and I, if I was a manager, would worry about managing the team, because that's my job. I don't need to do other people's jobs. Mine's hard enough. Flossie is saying good morning, good morning. Ash is saying that Newcastle did try to buy Ekitike in previous transfer windows. Well, you dropped the ball there, friend. But you did get Voltamata. And the thing is, if you got Ekitike previously, you maybe wouldn't get Voltamata now. Obviously, Ekitike is absolutely smashing it, but so is Voltamata. So, you know, sometimes things work out the way they're supposed to. Everybody's saying hi, hi, hi. he played Hugo Ekitike in the 1-0 win. There you go. So they did play together before. 1-0 win to Inter. Look. Oh, let's see. Twisted. Ash, I disagree. The player don't decide his transfer play. Oh, good. So good. Look at the level of English that I have. Ash, I disagree. The players don't decide his transfer fee. They should only play on merit. I agree with Twisted, which doesn't happen very often. We're normally fighting. But so I thought Ekitike was unbelievable. Obviously then, unexpectedly, Sala came on due to an injury to Gomez. He came on around the 25th minute. And before the match, I did see a lot of people saying, you know, on the TV, on social media, on YouTube and the whole lot, how might the crowd react to Mohamed Salah if he comes on after the whole debacle, after the whole, you know, everything that's been coming out in the wash? How will the fans react? I have to say, I never personally really questioned how the fans would react to him, because the amount of fans I have seen back at him, I would have been astounded if the fans in the stadium had a completely different reaction to all of the other fans. There have been a select few criticising him. There have been a number who have said, look, we don't agree with how he did it, but we agree with what he said. So therefore, we're backing him. So I would have been very surprised if he got a poor reception, especially because nobody knows, is this going to be his last game? It's looking less likely at this point because they have this sort of ceasefire/truce. But he came on and the crowd went mental. They were screaming, they were singing, they were loud. They made it very, very clear how they felt about Mohamed Salah. And I have to say, maybe this is what he needed, because he has not been good this season. He's been very poor considering his usual standards. He has not been up to it. I totally understood why the manager dropped him. I thought it was the correct thing to do, because again, I don't think you should play based on your price tag. But it was the best I have seen Mohamed Salah play this season by a country mile. He was only on the pitch and nearly had an assist. It was the best and most motivated I have seen him play all season. So do you know what? Maybe he needed a bit of a kick up the backside. Maybe he needed to realise that no, you don't just get handed your place. You have to earn it. You're only as good as your last match. You've been excellent. Everything you've done for us has been fantastic. But if you don't continue to do it, you don't continue to get your spot. So maybe he just needed that fire lit up under him. And obviously it seemed to do the trick. Let me see. What else did I say? Oh, yes. So I thought this was quite funny. In the first half, the commentator mentioned, because Liverpool were getting some corners, that Liverpool hadn't scored from a corner yet this season. Funny enough, they did manage to do that in the second half. For Ekitike's second goal to go 2-0 up, they scored from a corner. It was the first goal that Liverpool have scored from a corner this season. Sala got his assist because he obviously took the corner. Let me see. What have I written here? Sorry, I'm reading my own notes, and honestly, I'd be looking at the screen and writing, so sometimes when I'm trying to read it back, it actually doesn't make a lot of sense to me. So let me just try and decipher what I wrote down, but you just keep getting your comments in, because I'm going to read them out now in a wee minute. But what was I trying to say to myself? Oh, yes. So that was Ekitike's 7th goal of the season. According to the commentators, that made him joint 3rd in the league. And I wrote beside it, imagine if he had played all the games. So if he's joint 3rd and he's not even always the starting striker, imagine the numbers he would be putting up if he was actually just getting put on the pitch. Imagine how many of those games that Liverpool have been under fire for, that Liverpool fans have been upset by, that Arne Slot has been put under pressure for. Might there have been a difference if he had just changed the personnel? Now, that's a very easy thing to say in hindsight, but I mean, it's possible. So yeah, just look, overall, I thought, actually, for the most part, the game was quite back and forth, certainly in the first half. The first half was very back and forth. Liverpool then really sort of started to take complete control in the second half. But Brighton certainly didn't roll over. Like, if you look at it at a 2-0 scoreline, sometimes you think, look, the other team rolled over. It was very easy. Liverpool dominated. It wasn't necessarily the case. Liverpool had some really sketchy moments as well. And another thing I just wanted to draw attention to, because again, in relation to Manchester United, it's someone that we keep getting linked to, we keep getting talking about. Apparently he's number one target. Baleba was yet again substituted off the pitch. It was around the 63rd minute. Again, he is not doing well, and I really hope we don't buy him. I'm not saying he doesn't have a high ceiling. I'm not saying he doesn't have potential. I am saying we are not the club for him right now when he needs nurtured, and that the club that had been nurturing him are clearly struggling with it now as well. So I just think mentality, not what I'm looking for. In terms of players for Brighton that did do well, look, Kadioglu was very, very active in the game. He was one of the players that stood out for me for Brighton. But Ash, who likes to argue. Ekitike has been involved in 15 games out of 16 in the Premier League. Do you know what he didn't do, Ash? Start, which is what I said. Thank you for listening. And Rob is saying, looks like Sala is back in favour. I don't know if I'd say that after one match. And obviously the reason he came on as early as he did was because of an injury. I think he probably would have come on anyway, but I think it would have been later into the second half when he came on. Obviously he came on and he had a point to prove, and he proved it. So I do think that was maybe fortunate for him. You know, the fact you don't want a teammate to get injured, but the fact that it happened and he got on the pitch, I do think made a difference for him. And obviously he benefited from that. So I think it was sometimes, as I said, things happen the way they're supposed to. Sometimes, you know, the path is a bit windy and you get there. Sala came on and he played well. And I think it was good for him and it was good for the fans. And it kind of breaks that, because if he goes to AFCON without having played, so this whole debacle happens, it's all over the media and social media, and then he doesn't play, he goes off to AFCON, and then you're in the transfer window, and it just all drags on and on and on and on and on. The fact that he got on for a good portion of the match, that he played really, really well, and that there was no obvious impact on his game from everything that happened, other than the fact that he improved. But I mean, he was still putting the ball in for other people. He wasn't selfish. When he was trying to prove his point, he proved it by playing well as part of his team. He didn't play it by trying to be like a kind of a solo charger winning the game for everybody. So I think everybody looked well in terms of that whole situation. It worked out well for everybody. Szoboszlai looked to have twisted his ankle and then got subbed off in the 82nd minute for Chiesa. Now, we said in and around the international break that at this portion of the season, after 3 international breaks, when the schedule intensifies in the Premier League and obviously Europe and all the cups start happening, that we will start to see more and more injuries, because the players' bodies are being pushed more and more. Obviously, Arsenal had a list of injuries out there last week, and there was 2 or 3 players that went down injured yesterday for Liverpool. There was a few of them. So obviously Gomez went off injured. Szoboszlai looked like he was going off injured as well. Potentially a precaution. They didn't want to make anything worse. But they weren't the only 2 players that went down for Liverpool. There was quite a few of them. And I think we are going to start seeing more and more and more of this. So look, Liverpool got an important 3 points. They resolved sort of an important issue that had happened between one of their key players and their manager. However, they were struck down by a number of injuries. And what I will just say for Brighton is they really put their heart and soul into it. Like, even I wrote it down here, at the 93rd minute, Brighton were still attacking, 2-0 down, still attacking. And I just thought, that's what you want to see from your team. Even when you get a bad result, even when you're disappointed, to see that your team are still fighting all the way to the end is exactly what you want to see. Now, when we talk about teams fighting, Wolves, and I'm wearing my Wolves earrings today. This is the closest colour I have to the world, to the Wolves jersey yesterday, because they were wearing an unusual colour yesterday. It was lovely. But my goodness me, I really thought they were going to do it. And the group chats were wild, because a lot of the group chats I'm in, they're mixed. You know, you've got some Arsenal, some rival, and I'm in a number of them. And it was really, really interesting, because it was Arsenal against the world yesterday, honestly. And I have to say, it's only happened 4 times before in the Prem where the bottom team has beaten the top team, but the last team to actually do that was Wolves. So they do have a history of doing this, of beating the top team when they're the team at the bottom. I do just have to add a little asterisk that at that time when it did happen, the team that they beat was Manchester United. So, all right, lads. Before the match, I was very interested. I watched Rob Edwards' pre-match press conference, kind of his comments before it. And what he said, that he had asked the team to be tight, to do the right thing at the right time, and to be brave, that he wanted them to focus on the basics, to control the things that they could control, and to make sure that they had concentration at all times. So he was very clear. He was literally asking them to do the basics. And you could see by him, he really, he knew what situation he was coming into. He said that he was very aware of that and he was up for the fight. But obviously, the reality when you're there can be very, very difficult. And you can see how much he is struggling with it. Now, I also thought, and I don't often stick up for Arsenal here, but I did find it very interesting. The commentators mentioned right near the start of the match that was the 8th different back four combination for Arsenal this season, which is a bit mad. Now, if you're going to try out an 8th different combination, I suppose the team to do it against was Wolves and their situation. And most people before this match, I mean, we did our predictor, so we did on Thursday, I think we did it at. Everybody was putting in their predictions. We had some 7-0s, we had some 5-0s, we had some 4-0s, we had some 4-1s. We had all sorts of mad predictions going on. And that actually seemed to be kind of the standard across the board on all channels, on all chats that I saw, on all sort of social medias. Everybody thought Wolves were going to get absolutely hammered. That was the general consensus, and I think most people were looking at how they played against Manchester United, who were woeful, and they made us look good because they were even worse. And so people thought, well, my goodness me, if that's what they look like against a Manchester United, what are they going to look like against a properly drilled team like Arsenal? It is going to be a bloodbath. There's going to be all sorts of new records set. That was absolutely not the case. I mean, they defended for enormous parts, but they were not without threat. They were not without shots, and they really played out of their skins. And you could see how important it was for them to try and get any sort of result from that match. And I have to say, I felt so sorry for them. Obviously, Arsenal fans are delighted. If you're an Arsenal fan, you are going to be delighted. It's an important 3 points that you needed to stay at the top of the table, to keep a gap there, to make sure that other teams weren't breathing down your neck. Very, very important for Arsenal. Take the 3 points and run. But as a Wolves fan, you would have to be absolutely heartbroken. And my goodness me, the Wolves fans have been really through it recently. They've had all sorts of changes in their director of football and their managers. They're not happy with their ownership at the moment. They're protesting, so they are very loudly, very consistently, and it's just such a difficult time. Their team is almost definitely going to get relegated, and they showed up away late at night in their numbers with their Christmas hats and their Christmas jumpers, and they're all singing and they're loud. And I just thought you have to commend them so much, because my goodness me, it has to be rough going being a Wolves fan at the moment, but they really are showing up for the team. And one of the things that Rob Edwards said actually after the match was, let me see, he's very proud of the supporters and he really feels for them. Well, I'll tell you what, Rob, I feel for them too, because my goodness me, they're going through it. What I will say, there was a part there in the first half where Eze kicks Gomez, I believe was his name, kicks Gomez in the head. His boot was up here, okay? It was really high. It was definitely a high boot. I mean, your man was bent over a wee bit, but not a whole lot, and he literally got kicked in the head. And there wasn't even a yellow card. And I thought to myself, surely that's a high boot. He's just kicked him in the head. Surely that's a card. Surely, I mean, it should be a definite yellow with a potential review from VAR. I don't think maybe the red, it was accidental, and you can see when as he saw, his eyes were completely on the ball, and when he saw the player, he actually got a bit of a start himself. So I don't think probably a red, but it definitely should have been a yellow. And I can't believe that there doesn't seem to have been any discussion on it. I thought maybe I'd imagined it. Maybe there's a rule I don't know about that nobody told me exists, because nobody other than Ash has been talking about it. And it was only when Ash said it to me, I was like, okay, so I'm not the only person who has seen this. He definitely kicked him in the head. Obviously then, they had to treat him because he'd been kicked in the head with a football boot with studs on it. And then they had to do the concussion protocol, and then he had to go off the pitch, and then he had to wait 30 seconds to go back on the pitch. So the Wolves player got kicked in the head, and then Wolves had to play with 10 men for 30 seconds after their player got fouled. And I just found that a little bit odd. I mean, he definitely wasn't faking that injury. I mean, it was very clear that that was a real injury. So I just think if a player on your team has been clearly fouled, and has to receive treatment, it seems a little bit odd that your team would then be punished by having to play with 10 men. Because imagine a goal gets scored at that point. There would have been absolute mayhem all over the place. So I think it's an odd rule. I just think it's a bit odd. And I thought it was a little bit odd that there was no card at all. And now I see here Twisted Bob is saying there's no intention by Eze, which is why I'm saying I don't think it would be a red. But intention or not, his boot was high, so it should have been a yellow. It should have been a yellow without question. The fact it wasn't looked at was mental. I agree with you, there was no intention. You could see he was genuinely shocked when he saw that there was a player where his foot was. So I don't think a red, but it definitely should have been a yellow. His boot was high. You're not allowed to have your boot that high for exactly that reason, because you can unintentionally really hurt somebody. Guess you should always be held responsible for your actions on the pitch, regardless of it being an accident. And that's the thing. You are responsible for your limbs. I mean, you can handball accidentally. I mean, if your arm is away from your body and you hit it, it can happen. Rob is saying dangerous play. It was dangerous because he kicked him in the head with his studs, but I go back to Twisted and Ash agreeing there. It's a yellow, but it's not a red, because it genuinely wasn't intentional. Twisted is disagreeing with Guess. It's a contact sport. Yeah, but the rules are the rules. You can't have your foot that high. So that's not an agreement, disagreement opinion. It's an actual rule. You can't have your foot that high. Guess, we are all on it today. My goodness me, I thought Sunday was a nice chilled out, relaxed day, but everybody's just on it. Nobody's had their coffee. Everybody just have a wee chamomile tea. If you play in a fashion that can injure players, you also need to be cautioned, and I agree. So it depends how high you jump, to be honest with you. But if you want to be argumentative, you just belt away there, because you're obviously just on one this morning. Ash, my goodness me, everybody's on it today. Let's all just take a wee chill. And let me see and guess. There are rules in contact sports too, which is basically my opinion. It's a contact sport, but there are still rules. You can't have your foot that high. He kicked him in the head. That's it. And I understand Twisted has a bit of a soft spot for Ezzy because he's a former player. Ezzy's a very good player. He seems a really nice chap. I think he's very, very talented. But the rules apply to everybody equally. So, I see Andrew. Hello, Andrew. Nice to see you. Welcome to the Madhouse this morning. Twisted is not arguing. It's just his opinion. Sorry, pal. It's just the way you talk. You're very emphatic in your opinions. Right. I think that's enough talk about Ezzy and his potential, not potential card, because otherwise we're going to have a mutiny on our hands. So let's move on, people. So look, Wolves were doing their absolute best. I mean, everything to slow the game down, which was absolutely the correct thing to do. That's what they needed to do. That was part of their game plan. They were up against a better team. Therefore, they needed to use everything in their arsenal to try and get something out of the match. They were taking the longest throw-ins I've ever seen. I'm amazed their keeper didn't get a yellow card at some point for his kicks. I mean, they were doing everything. They were going down all over the place for fouls. They tried everything. They were slowing the tempo. The game was very stop-start. Arsenal couldn't get into a rhythm, which was obviously the point of it, and it worked for quite a period of time. And I just thought, you know what? They did well. They had a plan, a very clear plan, and they executed it as well as they possibly could for a large part of the game. What I will say that I thought was very interesting, by minute 20, 48% of Arsenal's play was down the right-hand side, so between White and Saka. And then in the 28th minute, Ben White pulled up, he grabbed the back of his left leg, and it was taken off. And so that was a big part of changing the game. because that was the side they've been going down over and over and over. They were going down that right side. Obviously, when White comes off, one part of the White and Saka combination is missing. So they had to come up with something new. So we're nearly at the end of the first half, but I just want to make a note. Gyökeres. So we're talking about Ekitike in the Liverpool match being absolutely unbelievable. We're talking about Isak not living up to his price tag so far. And then we look at Gyökeres. For the first half, he got 5 touches and he lost possession 4 times. I say this often about Delap. I'm so happy we didn't get Delap because we were so linked to him. I am also very happy that we didn't get Victor Gyökeres. He's not living up to the expectations people had from him. Now, that's not to say he won't. It's not to say that he's not a good player, but at the moment, he has not hit the ground running. There's a large number. So we had the summer of the striker just gone, and there's a large number of those strikers that really, really just aren't performing. Our own Sesko is under the spotlight at the moment, but he's not getting a lot of game time because he's injured. So there's a lot of question marks about a lot of the strikers that were bought this summer. And I think that Victor Gyökeres is definitely one of them. Let me see. Andrew Wright. This is going to be music to Ash's ears. Music. Arsenal are not winning the league. The first goal was offside. They're not beating Everton away. That's for sure. And there he is. There is Ash. Yes, and no one is talking about it. Ash, check out Ash after this live. Ash has made a video on Arsenal's first goal and the fact that Saka was offside. He was in an offside position prior to the corner being awarded. They then won the corner from Saka being offside and scored. So Ash is quite annoyed about this and nobody is talking about it. He has screenshots, he has all sorts of everything. He's done a video on it on his channel. So when we're finished with this live, go over to Ash NUFC, check out his video. I'm not going to go massively in depth in that because Ash has done a whole video on it and it's a really good video. So I think you should all go and check it out. People that are joining, people that weren't here at the start, please do smash a like on the video. Please tell your friends. We're having a little chin wag on a Sunday morning. It's all very relaxed and chilled out in here. Everybody's nice friends. But do you know what? Football does that, doesn't it? Football gets us riled up. Football gets us opinionated and it's into a debate. And you know what? There's no harm in that either. Our Andrew is saying hi to Twisted. You're most welcome, Ash. I think it was something that did need to be highlighted. I'm surprised some of the bigger channels haven't been highlighting it. And that's, I suppose, the reason I started my channel was because I felt like I was watching a lot of content on YouTube and there was just teams and things that I felt weren't being covered. And I thought, well, if other people aren't going to do it, I'll do it myself. And that's exactly what Ash did there. He saw, why is nobody talking about this? And he went and made a video on it. That is literally the point of these channels. That is why we're here as fans to talk about the things that Mama Flossie and Guess, a race to get Ash's channel in there. Lovely stuff. But yeah, that's what we're here for, is to do the things that, we feel aren't being covered. Because we are all fans and we all see different things and we're all going to have different opinions. And it's nice to have all those different opinions represented and that people can find content maybe where their opinion or something they've seen is being shared. So hopefully you will enjoy that and hopefully you are enjoying this as well. What I did say, and actually I thought this was very, very interesting. I'd just like to let people know, Twisted is not an Arsenal fan. Twisted is a Crystal Palace fan. He's just, he is the Arsenal rep here today. Anthony's not in the chat. Rob Ladd's not in the chat. Twisted is the Arsenal rep today. Until we get to the City Palace game, then he'll be the Palace rep. So yeah, I just think, oh yeah, so we got to the second half. Sorry, I get so distracted by all your chats. They're actually more interesting than the football sometimes. But there was no Arsenal subs warming up. So I found it interesting that the commentators commented on this. So Arsenal come out after the first half and the commentator said, oh, and they're all still on the bench. They're not even warming up. As if he was surprised. He expected changes to come and he was surprised that they weren't coming. Thought that was very interesting. Now, there was changes not long after that, but, I just thought it was an interesting comment. Now, there was a challenge of a Wolves player on an Arsenal player, and a lot of people were shouting for red because he slides in underneath him, he completely upends him, and his studs were up. And so a lot of people, particularly Arsenal fans, were saying that should be a red. He's out of control, it's dangerous, it should be a red. A yellow was awarded, and John Brooks told us it was a yellow because Hwang was pulling out of the challenge. He bent his knee back, he tried to pull out of the challenge, it was his momentum that took him through. Again, I thought there would be more talk about that. I can understand both sides. If that was my team, so if I was Arsenal, I would be screaming for a red. He's out of control, he upends him, his studs are showing. It's dangerous. If I'm Wolves, and last night I was Wolves, I'm going, well, he did. He pulled his leg back, and Andrew, yeah, that could be Hwang is what I've written down. So maybe that's Hwang Chan. Is that his full name? But yeah, I can see both sides to that. What I like is that the referee explained his reasoning, whether we agree with it or not. And I think we need to see more of that, because then we can see, are the thought processes of the referees consistent? I do wonder if the challenge was the other way around, would the Arsenal player have been sent off? Would they have got a red instead of a yellow? I'm curious about that, because obviously Wolves are the underdog. Wolves already don't have much of a chance of winning the game. Because the referee is human, the VAR is human, do they feel sorry for Wolves? Do they think, my goodness me, I don't even think they have a chance with 11 men, we're not going to send them down to 10? Does that feed into the decision, even though it shouldn't, but does it? And I do wonder. Now, what Ash says here is very important. It was definitely an orange, and I do think that's probably right. It's probably an orange. See, when you can understand both sides, it's probably an orange. But Ash would have went with a yellow because he didn't give the card on Eze, and that's probably where I ended up with it. The referee was consistent. He didn't give Eze the card in the first half that I think should have been a yellow. He got no card. And so then in the second half, you're thinking maybe that tackle can be a red. He gives a yellow. So he was consistently lenient throughout the match for both teams. And I think that's important, because not only did he explain the reasoning for the decision, but he was consistent throughout the match with both teams. And I think that's more important. No team can come out going, oh, well, they got all the decisions. I actually thought the referee, not normally, but the referee, I think, was actually quite even in this match, which is nice to see, because we don't often get to see that, from the referees in the Premier League. We're normally given out about them. So I thought that was really good. I also thought the Wolves keeper, Johnston, was very good. And I said this in one of the group chats, that I thought the keeper for Wolves was brilliant. And an Arsenal fan came back at me and said, how can you say he's been brilliant? He's only made one save. The save he made was brilliant. It was very, very, very good save. Quick reaction, straight down, very good save. Oh, hello, Anton. Big up, big up. This is our Anton from the Football Terrace, everybody, who doesn't recognise him on his own account, because he's normally just on panels everywhere. And we're just talking about you lot, Anton. If you go back about 5 minutes, we were just talking all about your team. But so, yes, in one of the group chats, I had an Arsenal fan that's not Anton tell me that how possibly could I say that Johnston, the Wolves keeper, was very good when he hadn't been involved in the match. Arsenal hadn't had any shots on target, bar that one save. Therefore, how could he be very good? So, my answer to that was, but he has been very good. He's been commanding in his area. He has been in control. He has been vocal. Every time there's a corner or a cross or a ball into his area, he was clearing everybody out. He was strong. His hands were strong. He was pushing the ball back out. He was commanding, and he was strong, and he was in charge of his players, and he was setting up his back line. And I thought, considering the pressure his team was under, considering that everybody thought that Wolves were going to lose by 3, 4, 5, 6 goals, I thought he performed admirably. The fact that one of Arsenal's goals went in off the back of his head a few minutes later made me think that maybe I had cursed him, because I support Manchester United and look how they're doing at the minute. And the minute I said this man was having a great match, and Ash and Anton can verify this, I would say not 5 minutes later, that goal goes in off the back of his head. And so this Arsenal fan, not Anton, who had said to me, how can he be having a great match? He's only made one save. Said, oh, is he great now? And I said, yes, because that goal doesn't undo 70 minutes of hard work, of good work. It's a terrible moment. It's terrible timing. And maybe I put the markers on him, but he has been doing well. Twisted says, that's a keeper's job. No. Yes, Twisted, the keeper's job is to keep the ball out of the back of the net. However, they don't all do that, and they don't all do it well, and they don't all do it consistently. So while it is his job, yes, he did his job well. And I think when we're going to criticise them for doing their job badly, we should give them praise for doing their job well. So yes, Twisted, it's his job, and he was doing his job well. Lord forbid we would say nice things about people. And Ash, that goal was unfortunate. It was very unfortunate. Twisted, my goodness me, you're a misery guts this morning. So one mistake undoes 70 minutes of hard work. My goodness me, you are feeling trolly this morning. You need to get yourself a coffee, hon. Ash, honestly, if you told me Wolves would score 3 goals away at Arsenal and Arsenal wins, I wouldn't know what to say. And that's a very good point, because at the end of the day, Arsenal didn't score a single goal in that match. Wolves scored all 3 of them. So you can say what you want about Arsenal, and it was a good 3 points. They needed the 3 points. They will take the win and they will take the 3 points, and you can't hold it against them. If it's your team, you're taking them and running. And sometimes you need a little bit of luck. Do you know what I mean? It's hard work and luck. But the score was 2-1. There was 3 goals in the match, and Wolves scored all 3 of them. And I just think it's something for them to build on. It's something that they can take into their next match. And their next match, I believe, is Brentford. Let me see. I'm pretty sure their next match is Brentford. I've lost it. I think it is. Let me see. Sure, why don't I just look like a big dope? Wolves matches. Where's the Wolves matches? Wolves, Brentford, and then after that, the Liverpool, God love them. So their next match on the 20th is Brentford. And you would think that maybe the way they played might give them just that little bit of hope and bit of belief. And if they play against Brentford how they played against Arsenal, they really do have a good chance of getting 3 points. And you know what? Nothing against Brentford. I'm sure they're lovely. But I really just hope Wolves get 3 points. I think they should have come away with a point yesterday, if not all 3. But they certainly should have come away with a point yesterday. And I really did feel for them. I skipped the Burnley-Fulham game. And if anybody attended the live that me and Ash did on Thursday, where we looked at the games that were upcoming, and we did our score predictions with sorry, I've lost my train of thought. Between Twisted and Anton, I can't cope. Right, hold on. Twisted is saying he's at 5 coffees. Hun. Well, Twisted, I think maybe you should swap them out for chamomile tea. It's had a bad impact on you. What else have we got? And then I saw Anton. Anton's here. Wolves are getting relegated. They played so negative at my stadium. First of all, Anton, it's not your stadium unless there's something you haven't told us. But also, how did you expect them to play? If they had come and played open and played feisty and come at you, everyone would have said they were absolutely off their rocker. So I don't think you can you can give out about the fact that they had a game plan that nearly worked and they executed it well. I mean, what did you want them to do? And I'm not being funny, if they'd come and they'd been right up for it and played into your hands, everyone would have said that they were overconfident and that it was silly and that they were arrogant. And why would they even think they could play like that against the top of the Premier League Arsenal? So I think no matter what they did, they couldn't win with, people that would criticize them. So I think at the very least, they gave themselves a good chance of winning the game, which is what their job is. So yes, I understand it's a little bit tongue-in-cheek. I understand it's a little bit, protect your team. But I do also think, what could they have possibly done? Let me see. Ash watched the game and thought it was amazing. I thought it was a very good game as well. Let me see. Ash also says, Andrea, I see you're in there, but I see you're having a bit of a chat, so I don't want to pull up half your chat when you're chatting to other people. I'm not ignoring you, friend. Rob Edwards sat 10 people behind the ball, sat Wang at the halfway line behind your defenders, you're being Arsenal, high line for a counter-attack. They should respect you. And honestly, my reading skill is top notch because that is not what that says. But yes, so look, we've talked about the results. What we're really here to talk about is what is coming up next, which means I need to push some buttons. So let's hope, right, we're going to remove this and we're going to push this. Wahey, right, now, let me see. Zoomy. Excellent. Look at me go. I'm a genius. Sorry, lads, didn't want to burst your eardrums. So, we'll go to this one first. Since Twisted is here, he has entered the building. He's been in the building. He's vocally in the building. He's letting us all know what he thinks about everyone else's teams. I hope he's still here and he hasn't just left because he's had enough of us. He's gone to make chamomile tea. Crystal Palace, Manchester City. Now, if I click this, right, okay, maybe I zoomed a little bit too much. I got a bit excited. So, Crystal Palace, Manchester City. Tell me, can you see this? Oh, let me see. Is that a wee bit better for you? Can you see that? You get the idea anyway. Yeah, Rob, technical masterclass. I mean, honestly, I'm unbelievable. I don't know how I got so good at this. It's almost like I do it nearly every day. Oh, again, anybody who's joined us, we do have a steady 8 people in the room, 8 of my favourite people. I'm sure you've all smashed the like, but I have to keep saying it because that's what content creators do these days. They just say, smash the like, subscribe, share with your friends. Twisted, can I make it bigger for you? I don't think that's my job, Twisted. So let's have a look. Manchester City, Crystal Palace. Man City in second on 31 points. Crystal Palace in fifth, 26 points. Man City have 4 wins from their last 5 matches. Crystal Palace have 3 wins from their last 5 matches. What do we reckon, folks? Most people seem to think either Man City win or a draw. I haven't seen many people, even Twisted, say they reckon that Palace are going to win. Now, I think if this match had happened a few weeks ago, I think Palace might have beat them, when they were a little bit wobbly, when they were a little bit up and down, when the form was a bit all over the place, when the confidence wasn't there. I think Crystal Palace could have beat Man City. And I'm not saying it's outside the realm of possibility, but I think it's more likely that Man City win. I do, however, think a draw is possible. And I think Crystal Palace are one of those teams, they're a bogey team. Do you know when you think of like a Villa or a Palace, you think of a bogey team, or even a Brighton, you think this is a team that can trip up one of the bigger teams. This is one of the teams that when the bigger teams go there, you're never really 100% confident. You're a little bit hesitant. And I think that's going to be a very, very interesting match. Now, I know we talked about it the other day, but has anybody's opinion changed? Has anybody, because obviously as the game week goes on, as the matches start to play out, as the matches get closer, you do start to change your opinion. You do start to kind of revise maybe how positive you were feeling or negative you were feeling. And I'm just wondering, have people's opinions changed? What did you think and what do you think now that we are 6 minutes past 12, 7 minutes past 12, because the time is updating as I'm looking at it, and we're less than 2 hours away from the match. Do we think City win? Do we think draw? Do we think Palace can nick it? Let me know. Twisted is telling us Ismail Sarr, you think Sarr is back? That would be good. Rob Always United says Sarr will have an impact. Yes, if he's back, I do think he will have an impact. He's a very, very good player. And obviously, those type of players, you feel like, you know, they make a difference. And again, it's like when we talk about Palmer earlier, it's not always the amount of injuries, it's who's injured. It's the importance of the player that's injured or suspended in some cases. Anton is still here, consistent, just defending his team to the hilt. Arsenal are still winning this league. Don't be fooled, Lou. Do you know what it is? I wouldn't necessarily say you're definitely not, but I do think if City win against Palace, I do think that's a big win in terms of a title race, because Palace are a tough team. Palace are a bogey team. And I think if Palace even get a point today, I do think it cements kind of this sort of thinking from Anton that Arsenal are going to win this league, because these are the kind of matches that I think City needs to be winning in order to stay in a race with Arsenal. Arsenal won a match yesterday that by the end of it, Arsenal fans were relieved they won, and rival fans thought maybe they shouldn't have, or they maybe should have drawn. So when Arsenal are winning matches like that, rough, messy matches, if City then drop points to a team like Crystal Palace, a bogey team, a team that can sort of derail you a little bit, I do think it helps Arsenal's chances. So I think you're kind of right. I mean, I can sort of agree with you in a less emphatic way, Anton. And Andrew reckons City's going to win 3-1. Rob reckons a draw. Twisted is saying he would take a draw. You have a big European game in the midweek. And I think that's a thing. That's a thing that impacts teams, you know, who maybe don't, I don't know what your squad size is like, Twisted. Does Crystal Palace have a big squad? I suppose I expect the teams maybe that don't have as much money, like the likes of a City or a Chelsea, to have maybe a smaller squad, and therefore the midweek games can impact you more. But let me know. And there you go. Palace are saving their energy for Arsenal League Cup tie. So look, it does make a difference. Anton, yeah, they dropped points today. Hard to come back from an away trip in the Bernabeu and then win at Selhurst Park. Very true. Very good point, actually, Anton. Do you know, even when you do have a deep squad, if you've played a big game in the midweek, it makes you tired, especially with the way the league scheduling is. Rob doesn't think much of City's defence. There's a few people that think that. Huge, you're here. Welcome, friend. I didn't see you sneak in. And Huge, oh God, Huge and Anton are about to fight. God, we've just had the chamomile tea. I think Arsenal are bottling it a little. The issue is they are bottling enough considering no one else is putting up a good fight. Oh, are they bottling enough? So you think basically Arsenal are dropping points. They are bottling it a little bit, but because everybody else is so terrible, it's not actually going to change the outcome. Arsenal are less, they're bottling it less than everybody else. Therefore, they are likely to still win. So, I mean, in the end, you're probably not that far off what Anton wants to happen. Twisted says, no, you don't have a big squad. And I think that's where it starts to impact you. And that's where you start to see kind of the difference between the bigger teams financially and the teams that are trying to challenge and do away with the traditional big six, as we keep talking about. The last game in a big week is always difficult. Completely agree. Wharton and Guehi played in Europe. And Twisted, you played on Thursday and today's Sunday. So you played Thursday night. So really, they went home and went to bed. So you had Friday, Saturday, and then you're playing again today at 2:00. Why are you not playing on Monday? Why are we playing on Monday? Why are you not? That's a bit weird. Huge is saying, hi. Flossie is saying, the thing is, City have done this season after season. They should not be dismissed. No, and Mama is absolutely correct. And I do think that is where most people end up landing on City. Even if they capitulate a little bit, even if they're a little bit off the pace, even if they don't look like they're doing much, somehow they're always in and around it season after season after season. And I think sometimes, we talk about muscle memory. When you've done something so many times, it just happens. It happens all by itself, and I think that's what City have. They have muscle memory. And I think when people talk about Arsenal, let's see, because Anton's leaving us, so we'll say goodbye to him. Big up, Anton. Thank you so much for joining. It was lovely to see you. It was nice to get you in the chat, nice to get you interacting with everybody. And it's nice because we didn't have an Arsenal representative in the chat today, other than Twisted. He was representing Palace and Arsenal. So it was nice to have Anton in the chat. Folks, Anton, as well as being on the Football Terrace, Anton does have his own channel. He also shares a channel with Cal. He's all over the place. So do find his channel, get subscribed to him. If he hasn't already left, maybe he will put his channel or his and Cal's channel in. If not, I'm sure you'll be able to find him through the Football Terrace anyway. But very, very vocal, very, very positive, very much backs his team loudly and proudly. And I don't think any of us can criticise that. So yes, I agree with Twisted. Have a lovely day, Anton. And let's get to the next one. So we've kind of have a fair idea. We think likely Man City win, potential for a draw. Crystal Palace maybe feeling the effects of the midweek games and a smaller squad and maybe feeling a little bit tired. But look, as we saw yesterday, sometimes Twisted, you never know. Crazy things happen. I mean, I let Ash on here. But yeah, so look, we'll see how that one plays out. But that is not our focus for today, really. It might be some people's, it's Twisted's. Obviously, you've got Forest Tottenham at 2 o'clock. I think out of the 2 o'clock games, sorry, Kate, if you're here, this is probably going to be the one that nobody really cares about. Forest have fallen off a cliff, and Spurs, every time, and I feel sorry because maybe it's just not true. Maybe they're actually very exciting. But Spurs are likely going to win that. But I mean, I'm not expecting a huge amount. I need to do a United panel at some point. You know what? At some point, I'm hoping to have David on. David from the Football Terrace, from David Speaks Football. We often disagree, but I think that's fun. But not like for a big mad debate to the death, because I don't like that. Just for a bit of a chat, a bit of like opposing opinions. But David is a personal trainer. Obviously, he's on the Football Terrace. He's running his own channel. And then, look, you've got, family life and everything else. So at some point, I'm hoping to get David on. So we'll see. I could get, you never know who might pop up on here. I could get all sorts of mad people. I'm unbelievable. Oh, thanks, Twisted. That's the nicest thing you've said to me today. I'm unbelievable. Oh, I'm choosing to take the compliment there. Even if that's not what you meant. So I reckon Spurs beat Forest. Do we all agree Spurs beat Forest? Is anybody going to watch that match if they're not a Spurs or Forest fan? Let me know what you think, people. But I think Spurs win. Don't think it's going to be very exciting, although Ash and I did say that about the Burnley match, and we were wrong because there was a lot of goals. So no to what, huge. What? No, you think it's going to be a draw? Interesting. So what do you think? 1-1, 2-2? Do you think it'll be a lot of goals, or do you think it's just going to be 0-0? Nobody's going to score. Let me know. That's interesting. Maybe I'm giving Spurs too much credit. Not intended as a compliment, but keep it. Do you know what? Sometimes you just have to take things the way you want to. But yeah, anybody else think it's going to be a draw? 2-2. You were expecting a far more exciting game than I was giving it credit for. But as I said, I mean, me and Ash thought the Burnley match was going to be dead boring, like nothing was going to happen, maybe a 1-0 or something. So huge. Maybe we should be going by you. Maybe we shouldn't take what I think at all, because I'm not doing good at these predictions so far. But the match, the big one. I hope Mama's still here. I don't know if Ash is still here. Maybe they've gone off now because I took too long to get to the Sunderland Newcastle match, but I'm going to do it. Sunderland and Newcastle. This is, I have been told, the Tyne-Wear, or the Wear Tyne, or the Tyneside Derby, depending where it's played, or who you ask. Flossie is still here. thankfully, and Ash. Right, so we still have our Newcastle representatives in the house. Excellent stuff. I don't know if any Sunderland fans are watching this. I would just like to let all the Sunderland fans know I think you're very lovely. However, I am outnumbered in the chat, so we're going to be leaning heavily to Newcastle here. Ash, don't you argue with Mama Flossie. I got proper advice before I said these things because I didn't make them up by myself. So you can fight amongst yourselves what it's called. But yes, the Tyne Derby. So I have been reliably informed that this is a spicy fixture, that we should expect cards, potentially reds, and the way the red cards are going this season from the refs, I mean, it's highly possible. I am expecting goals. I am expecting fireworks. I am expecting all sorts of excitement. I know Crystal Palace Man City is going to be a good match, but I think this one, the Sunderland Newcastle one, might be the one to watch. So let me see here. What do we reckon, folks? What do we reckon, rivals? What do we reckon, Flossie and Ash? Flossie and Ash, I assume, reckon Newcastle are going to win. Sunderland, right. Sunderland were doing really good. Let's go to their matches, okay? Because this will tell us. So this is the matches that they've played head-to-head between each other. Okay, so out of how many? So they're on it. These are the streaks they have. So Newcastle are 4 without losing. There's been no clean sheets for anybody. Over 2.5 goals for Newcastle. 7 out of 7. Wow. Over 2.5 goals for Newcastle. 7 out of 7. That's a madness. Both teams to score. 5 out of 7, 7 out of 7. So we're looking likely that both of them are going to be scoring here. So I think you could be right here. 9 out of 10. Newcastle have been the first to score. And if I am correct, so we're expecting corners. We're expecting both teams to score. We're expecting an absolute madness, lads. So let's say, oh, sorry, this is our head-to-head streaks. So 7 out of 8, Sunderland have been the first to score. And 6 out of 8, they've won the first half. That's about wild. There we go, Ash, you did tell us this. So in their head-to-head streaks, 4 out of their last 5 games have had more than 4.5 cards. Oh my goodness me. You could be right about the red. That is mental. Over 4.5 cards in 4 out of their last 5 matches. That is nuts. Mental. Now, what I will just say, their most recent match was 2024 in the FA Cup. Newcastle won 3-0. Prior to that, you're back as far as 2016. These are not reliable because obviously they're so long ago. It's like ancient history in football terms. So this is really the only one we have to go on in relatively recent times. But even obviously since that, Sunderland have done well enough to be promoted. So let's just look at their recent form. In their last 5 matches, Sunderland have lost, drawn, won, lost, drawn. I mean, they played Arsenal, they drew to Arsenal, they lost to Fulham, which is terrible. They beat Bournemouth, Bournemouth had a red card. They drew Liverpool, and they lost to City. I mean, it's not great, is it? They had such a good start to the season. They were right up there. They were like really, really doing bloody well. Now, for a team that has just come up, I still think they're doing very well. They're highly unlikely to drop down as far as the relegation zone. So, I mean, they've already kind of won the season from where they were before. But let's have a look at Newcastle's last 5 games. So they've drawn, obviously this is all competitions. They've drawn, won, and a loss to Marseille. So the loss to Marseille, they beat Everton 4-1, which is quite convincing. They drew 2-2 to Tottenham, which everybody thought Newcastle, well, most people thought Newcastle were going to win that, but it was a good match. They beat Burnley 2-1, and obviously they drew to Leverkusen, but there was so many mixed reviews of that match as well. So Newcastle are on better form. Newcastle have won their most recent match, but the only thing I think we can be guaranteed in this match is there's going to be cards and there's going to be a madness. So what do we reckon, people? Let me see. Right, so Rob, Always United, Saints the Tunes have got this. Huge Sharts is saying, come on, Sunderland 2-1. Twisted is saying Sunderland don't have a chance. Ooh. Then we have Mama saying, if you keep your heads to win, and that's it. When you've that sort of back and forth, when you have that level of, I suppose, cards, when you have that level of sort of hype going into a game, that intensity, sometimes players can feed into the atmosphere. They can lose a track of what they're doing, and you can end up with a man sent off unnecessarily because they've fed into the atmosphere. So I completely understand what you're saying about having to keep your heads. Ash still thinks 3-1 to Newcastle. He is confident and he is consistent. Flossie is saying she's sure there will be a red. Having read that, I do believe you might be correct, Flossie. There really might be a red on this one. And you know what? I'm actually convincing myself that that is the game that I should be watching as well. So let's have a little go, right? We're going to... So after that, you've got West Ham Villa. I reckon Villa win that. And then you've got Brentford Leeds. Very, very interesting. I reckon Leeds. I do reckon Leeds. So Ash is saying as well, your worry is if you get a red. And look, I think when you have that kind of a game, that's feisty, that a derby is all bets are off. All form is out the window. Everything goes out the window when it's a derby because it's emotion, it's raw. And especially as Flossie's saying there, when you have people who are actually from the area, and I don't think you have to be from an area to support or play for a team, but when you have a local person playing for the team, they feel that more because they've grown up with it. I mean, some people that play for Newcastle now or that play for Sunderland now weren't Newcastle or Sunderland fans growing up. And that's fine because that's how you discover talent and you diversify, and there's no issue with that. But when someone is local, they've grown up in the area, they've grown up with the rivalry, they've lived in it, you know, it's their whole life. I do think it makes a difference to something like this. And those players, I think, are particularly susceptible to feeding into the mayhem a little bit, which obviously for the neutrals watching is absolutely fantastic. But for the teams and the fans that are involved, can maybe be a little bit difficult and not what you want to be seeing. So Big Joe is worried. That's Joe Linton. Was he injured? Did something happen with him recently, Flossie? Am I imagining that? Huge is asking, aren't you, as in Newcastle, worried you will tire in the second half because of Europe? And Flossie says not for this game. And I understand what Flossie's saying. If it was a different game, that yes, it's highly likely physically the players would start to get tired. However, I think when we talk about the derby and kind of the rivalry and that emotion, sometimes adrenaline is what carries you through. And I think in a derby, in a game that's as kind of feisty is the word, Flossie. I'm going to steal your word. As feisty as this one is expected to be, I think sometimes adrenaline is what actually carries you through rather than energy. And so I understand what Flossie's saying there, not for this specific game, which is fair enough. So what do we reckon, lads? I think we're in for a good day of football. Which match are you going to be watching? Are you going to be watching Palace City? Obviously, I know Twisted's answers to that. Are you going to watch Sunderland Newcastle? Is there another game you're going to be watching? Are you going to watch Forest Spurs? Because according to Huge Shirts, you said you reckon all sorts. You reckon 2-2 for that. You reckon it's going to be a goal fest. So maybe people will be watching that. So thank you so much for joining me, folks. That was it. As I said, I was going to do a bit of a pre-record for this one, but then I thought nobody has anything to be on a Sunday morning. I've nothing to be on a Sunday morning. Let's have a bit of a chat. Let's go a bit live. Let's get stuck into it. And it gives us a bit more of a conversation because you can come back at me as Twisted does and some of the others. You can, it gives you the opportunity to come back and we can have a discussion then, and it brings maybe things I haven't thought of in, and it just teases those things out. So it's really, really interesting. Thank you so much for joining me, for spending your Sunday morning with me. Hopefully you will enjoy whatever match it is that you decide to watch. We will be speaking to each other very, very soon. Good luck to all of your teams, and obviously my team, again, plays tomorrow on Monday night. So good luck to my team, because let's face it, We are going to need it. If you haven't already, please do smash a like on your way out of the video. Please do subscribe if you haven't already. Please tell all your friends to come and join. We're a lovely lot. And as I said, I will speak to you all soon.